I'm Angela.
I'm Renee.
And I'm Kelsey. We did the Telecommunications Act of 1996, and this includes Section 255 and 251 of the Communications Act of 1934, which was amended by the Telecommunications Act of 1996. And it requires manufacturers of telecommunications equipment and providers of telecommunications services to ensure that such equipment and services are accessible and usable by persons with disabilities, if readily achievable. These amendments ensure that people with disabilities will have access to a broad range of products and services, such as telephones, cell phones, pagers, call waiting, and operator services that were often inaccessible to many users with disabilities.
The 62-year-old Communications Act of 1934 was changed shortly after the Americans with Disabilities Act, and 1990 was passed because regulations of this act were not being followed. The Telecommunications Act was passed when President Clinton signed the bill into law on February 8, 1996. The act refocuses federal communications policymaking after years of confused multi-agency and intergovernmental attempts to regulate and make sense of a multiplying telecommunications industry. The bill relies on increased competition for development of new services in broadcasting and cable, communications, information, and video services, while it reasserts Congress's leadership role in the dominant communications policymaker.
The overwhelming bipartisanship support for this new law demonstrated America's commitment to ensuring that all citizens benefit from the information superhighway now and in the next century. The Act contained provisions too, among other things, like open competition between local telephone companies, long-distance providers, and cable companies. They all help and connect classrooms, libraries, and hospitals to the information superhighway by the end of this decade. They give families control of the programming that comes into their homes through television. They help prevent undue concentration in television and radio ownership so that a diversity of voices and viewpoints can continue to flourish in this nation. The Communications Act is amended so that the FCC's General Universal Service responsibility includes making communications available to all people of the United States, without discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, national origin, or sex. We believe that the Telecommunications Act is an accommodation because it is added on to the Communication Act of 1934. For example, it says in telecommunication services, a provider of telecommunication service shall ensure that the service is accessible and usable by individuals with disability if readily achievable. What readily achievable means is that this can leave out certain populations such as the deaf or the blind or other disabilities such as that.
I'm an elementary ed major, and I feel that this act will ensure that I can get in touch with students and their families for various issues such as academic purposes, safety reasons, concerns of domestic violence, or any other issue. It is important to have trust with students and open communication.
Angela and I are both social work majors, and we feel that the Telecommunications Act helps us to keep doors open with communication and networking.
And this is very crucial for people that come from low-income families or live in rural areas where
it can be harder to get in touch with them.
Yeah.
This helps.